books. You're guilty of much.
You have much to atone for.
You have started PRIO, the Peace Research Institute in Oslo. You were the founder of the journal Peace Research. And like in my own case, you've inspired a lot of people to go this way.
Thank you.
Are you an optimist, or are you a realist, or what would you have liked to see coming through better, stronger, when you were younger and started this journey?
Let me start with one optimistic point. That the world functions badly, we know, but what I put down on the plus side, there is much more consciousness of the idea that something can be done and should be done and must be done. And that something is peace by peaceful means. Of course, I'm not in no way satisfied with what's happened, but I'm quite satisfied with actually what has happened in my life. The kind of work that I have seen that it's possible to do, much above any expectations. That was at Columbia University, New York, and the Department of Sociology. It was a postgraduate doctoral course. And when I read through the text I made for the course, I'm not too dissatisfied. Because it had some characteristics that I would call the 5 basic characteristics. But before I come to those 5, I would say the other thing that happened in 1958, which happened totally by incidents. I wanted to do a study of desegregation, conflict, black-white, somewhere in southern United States. So it happens we have a radio program. Is there any chance that you could come to that program and tell us what you think could be done, should be done? And I was then struggling with the idea of science at the time. It was that we should not do politics, we should be objective and stand aloof, and I had a very painful night. And then it suddenly struck me that if I had any dedication to peace, this is the decision to take. So, the result was no book, and in the end, peaceful desegregation of Charlottesville, and a very nice letter from the mayor. Thank you, Professor Galtung. So, what are then those 5 things? Well, those are 5 sort of requirements of peace studies, or peace research. Point 1, it should be transdisciplinary. No discipline, political science, history, economics, law, biology, psychology, has monopoly. Any approach to peace would not only combine insights from various disciplines, but then try to develop its own overarching way of thinking. So typical concepts like structural violence cuts across disciplinary borders. It doesn't belong in any particular discipline. Point 2. It should be trans-bordered. By that I mean complete bordered. No region of the world has a monopoly on peace. The West thinks it has it, not at all. So this was during the Cold War, and one of the first things I did was to establish good contacts with researchers in Eastern Europe. Not easy, quite problematic. And I had to pay a price, and the price was that I was, of course, surveilled by the Norwegian state police and branded as a communist. Which was absolutely not true at all. I was against both superpowers. But I didn't see it that way. They saw it the way, and this has very much to do with the second point, that whoever criticizes US foreign policy must be a communist. That means he's in favor of the Soviet one. And when Galtung is critical of the Soviet foreign policy, it is just that he tries to conceal it. But you say something like this, that on any side of a conflict, there is a truth, their truth. And you have to listen to that truth. Doesn't mean you have to accept it, but you should know it. And they're human beings. Point 3, trans-level. I wanted a conflictology, and with that a paxology, the science of peace, that could have something to say at the micro level, inside between humans, meso level, between groups in society, macro level, between states, between nations, between states and nations, major conflict today, and between regions, and between civilizations, and between regions and civilizations. So from the, if you will, most micro to the most mega. The fourth was to get out of the pattern that research should only be empirical. I wanted it to be critical and to be constructive, above all. So I put some work into developing a kind of philosophy of science, where empiricism, criticism and constructivism are equal parts. The idea being that if there is a future with more peace, then it is exactly in the future. The idea of coming up with solutions by looking into the future. And that you can do by having dialogue with people, harvesting ideas, making audacious leaps theoretically, guided by such values as diversity and equity. Then comes number 5. Number 5 is to do it. Simply be a practitioner at the same time. And as I mentioned, I had the good luck that from 1958 I have been traveling on both tracks. And when I am now personally, being 77, is a demand from all over the world to contribute in mediation and conciliation. It comes from government, it comes from local groups. I generally don't accept invitations from governments. I don't want them to pay my tickets. Not too much. I find the institutes that have been founded falling into the university trap. And the university trap is point 1, to be monodisciplinary, and it tends to be political science, international relations, so on. Point 2, to be very Western, because that's where the money comes. They're given consultancies with Western organizations. Be that the OECD, Council of Europe, even NATO, European Commission, whatever. Point 3, tends to pick up the nation-state model. They're bad at local groups. Some of them, women particularly, has done good work on patriarchy. But they're bad at the general view. They're not too good at civilization conflicts either. Next point, very bad at solutions. So as I say, remember you're suffering from some disease and you go to somebody who is called a doctor. And the doctor analyzes you and puts down something, writing, makes a diagnosis, and then says, thank you so much for having come. This data that you have offered me will be very important for my forthcoming article. And with that article finished, I may be able to become professor at a better university. But doctor, aren't you going to do something? No, I'm objective. I'm not doing anything. Well, I wanted to get out of that one. So, having indicated by the example that medical research studies and medical practice has been a model for. We have not come that far. There are organizations like your own, TFF, like the one I founded, Transcend. There are others in the world who symbolize these 5 together. So the question is whether a necessity is actually to be an NGO, to be outside state and capital. Well, you get the money problem. But there are solutions to that one too. We do mediation and we pay for mediation. We're offering courses in mediation. And we offer good courses and people come. So I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying, if you have 5 points such as these, you need autonomy.